cannons. Here we go. Hey guys, it's Ben here from Second Dynasty, coming at you with another Friday update. This time we're live with our Kickstarter on. With me on the line, I have Zorma as usual. Say hello, Zorma.
Hello, Zormer. How you all doing?
Yeah, how are you all doing? I guess we're just waiting for a few people to get into the chat at the moment. There are a couple of people already in, which is nice to see. Today we're going to discuss a few things about our brand new ship, the Sleipnir, and actually we have a special guest tonight. Well, I don't know about special, but John will be with us a little bit later in the show to talk all about deck designer, and we'll have a little bit of a preview of that as well. But in the meantime, Zorima, could you possibly show and tell these people where they can find all our stuff?
Yes, I could, and I will. And the answer is that you can go to our webpage, and here's a link for that. I'll stick it in, all that stuff in there.
All right. Yes, we have seconddynasty.com. We also have a very active Discord channel. So we're all about the 3D printables, and this is our latest ship, an Expanse style ship. We're in the middle of a Kickstarter campaign right now too, and Zorima will link that up shortly. There you can find our active campaign, and we started just a little longer than a day and a half ago, and already we've plowed through all of our main. Let's see. How did you go? Oh, I'm at the bottom of the page. That's why. Which had the links. I was copying them earlier. So yeah, we have our Kickstarter currently going. We've currently very close to reaching a new stretch goal for what was that stretch goal? I've got to look it up. Sorry, guys. I'm a little tired today. You might notice in my voice. It's the main engine, John informs me in the chat. Yes, of course, the single engine variant. And of course, one of the beautiful things about the ships that we make is the fact that they're designed to be modular. So the one we were talking about is if you could actually replace these. I have done this sort of fatter 5-engine configuration down the bottom. If you want to make it a single engine ship, something closer to the ships that it's primarily inspired by, we can turn on the single engine here, and you can see we get a this graphic's just a little bit funny because it doesn't quite render that way, but you can see here the lower engine section that's about to unlock. We'll throw some even more detail in, but the idea is that these will be some kind of landing gears. I'm going to try and make them functional, see if I can make them actually retract, but that could be something of a challenge because of obviously it has to also support the ship, which might be an issue. So you can now find in the chat the links there to the Kickstarter. Even there you'll find a link to a good deal that we got. Zorima, why don't you tell us about that?
We have a 10% discount on filament, on filament buy. It is Filament PM brand and Filament and Filamentum brands that are available in there, and you can just go to the page and type in our special magic code of ship 5. To that ship 5, very elaborate. And that code will give you 10% discount on checkout. It's good until December 1st. We're trying to pass along a little bit of discount to you guys so that you guys can, when you need to buy a bunch of filament to print our ship, don't spend a fortune. Get a little bit cheaper deal. Oh, and it's available in Europe and the United States. So for the shipping there from those locations is real quick. Australia, I'm not sure about cost, but they said they would ship it to you guys as quickly as they can. They figured it would take about 2 weeks ship. So there
There
you
you
go.
go. So pretty good deal. I mean, this ship's going to be. I haven't weighed it exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's sitting pretty at about 5 kilos of plastic. So that 10%, assuming $20 a roll of a kilo, that'll save you half a roll worth of plastic in costs at least. So in the long run, that's a pretty good deal, I think. Also,
And sorry.
Also related to some of our deals, we still have this awesome deal with Dragon's Rest. Ian has provided this free landing pad, which will fit the Sleipnir. No worries. He said he's had a couple of questions about how much weight it can take, and it does have these supports. So we've got a second graphic now detailing the contents. He said it will definitely take the ship because he's got a version of it where it actually took his own body weight. So it will take the body weight of an adult man. The ship, which will be between 5 and 6 kilos max, I'd say, is definitely going to be perfectly fine on that. So I think what we're going to do is, in a little while, I'm going to talk about the inspiration for the Sleipnir and its journey from a concept to the finished version, and then we're actually going to go into talking with John about the deck designer and all of the history and functions behind that we have planned. We'll just discuss a little bit some of the stretch goals. Before we get into the stretch goals for the deck designer and get a little bit into the nitty gritty for that, we're going to look at the actual stretch goals we've unlocked since we're opened. We've got quite a lot since we've opened up 230,000 crowns worth. So let me scroll through all of the mess here. Mess, I don't know. I think it's all relevant in some ways. So since starting the last stream, we've opened up new seated poses for the miniatures. I'm just going to skip over the deck designer ones, by the way. We've done the boarding tube, so we're going to have more enhanced versions of that. We've got the additional hull mounts. We've got new 0G poses for the 5 core crew miniatures. We've got a forward mounted spinal railgun. We have unlocked some torpedo tubes. We've got new combat poses. I actually have a new graphic for that. I've just got to get it into the main graphic, but I've been sent the first of the poses from that would be Popsicles, the amazing designer on our core crew miniatures. Later in the campaign, we'll be getting into more detail with the Cult of Pickles items, which are currently featured in an add-on with suits. We've also released a standalone galley, so if you want to take your older ships and have the same sort of galley situation going on in that ship, you have more options than the Sleipnir's sort of more built-in aesthetic. And then we also have, of course, the forward point defense units, so you can add some additional guns to the nose. And we're just about to unlock the single engine variant. We have also designed, have designed is not correct. We've also unlocked an extra miniature, so that's going to be added with the other ones, another crew member. You guys, there have been some surveys out to question you guys on what this is going to be. This is going to be a stowaway psychopath aboard the ship, is the one that got voted for. We currently have, if you check the latest update on the campaign, a new one out. And that is going to be focused on what the next miniature is going to be after that. Because basically from here on out, more than likely we're just going to add a new miniature to the core crew. We're also going to have the same poses. So you won't be just getting one miniature, you'll be getting, 4 or 5 different poses for them as well. I know some people like to play with their miniatures so that, if it's the PCs in the group, the player characters, that they have different miniatures for different sort of situations. So this will help make that sort of thing happen, at least with our crew. Coming up soon too, this is what kept me up all night, is the standard turret ports. Now, I'm going to switch to Maya for this one, and I'm going to turn off this single engine business here and put the lower decks back on. Oh, there we go. That should be it. Oh, and I should also switch back to it, I guess. There we go. That's a bit better, right? Let's see. So, what I was working on last night is an upcoming stretch goal beyond this. This is at the 320 mark, and basically we're adding backwards compatibility with our past turrets and things. So here we have some of the walls. You see they're detailed inside. I'll probably add a bit more detail before we're finished. And these will lead to the standardized turret ports that you've seen on our past ships, from the Scout to the Chimera. And I've even done a sort of a remash of one of our turrets to sort of fit the aesthetic a little bit better. So we have them installed here on the side of the ship. For some reason this wouldn't render. I should have been heading to bed at 12 last night, but I couldn't get it to render until about 2 in the morning. So I'm a little bit groggy still. So, Zorima, do we have any questions while I've been yapping away?
Well, I've got a question.
Yeah?
How about a light kit for one of the goals? Like, because you now that you've done the engine with just one engine, I could put out a new light kit to light that thing up.
That's true. You could. It would be a single bulb one instead.
Right.
I think we need to find out more about what people like about the you know what? We should put out a survey so we can get some kind of indication of how many people have actually gone for the light kits. I think there's quite a few. Last time we had the chat open, there were a few people.
Yep. And maybe see if anybody wants to see another light kit one as an option. Anyway, besides that, apparently, are we still planning to do operational cargo containers? Is the question.
Well, funny you should mention that. That is pretty much the next stretch goal I've got beyond the turrets that I was looking at. Because with the mountings we can use to add the torpedo tubes, we could add some external cargo modules. Now, will it be sort of large gas-based ones all over the ship? No, probably not. That would require extensive work. So, external shipping containers or further modules, definitely possible. Now, that's without actually expanding the ship even more, because if I do variants for the top and bottom, you should be able to have, you could replace the PDCs with cargo modules, that sort of thing. So that'll be the next one I work on, the next ship one. So by the looks of things on the actual Kickstarter page, I'm switching over to that now again. We've actually slowed down the campaign a little bit. Oh, we just hit our goal. What am I saying? Alright guys, it looks like we just live unlocked a new stretch goal. Someone must have bumped up their pledge. So that means that the engine is now officially a part of it. I would, sorry, what do we got there? I would like to, like, small personnel containers, weapon trunks, and, oh, okay. That was a little bit smaller.
Centering on that question, then I also got asked again in direct chats from the Warhammer 40 guys again about that weapon track being blank, a blank weapon track. Apparently,
Yes.
it's a very popular add-on that I keep getting people asking.
Yeah, that's really not going to be too much trouble. We can just throw that in. It doesn't need to be an add-on. I just need to be reminded. So now I'm on the official record saying, I'll do that. We'll put it in.
Ooh.
It's one of those things that's just if it only will take a half hour or something to fix, that's fine. We're going to have to export everything anyway. Okay, well, there was a bit of a kerfuffle apparently on Reddit, which led me to think about explaining where the ship comes from and why this design has been presented. And it is fully intentional that this ship would fit in with the same aesthetic as a particular hard sci-fi universe that's quite popular at the moment. Um, and but the truth of the matter is, this design in and of itself actually has a much longer history with me. In fact, it goes right back to the start. And the start is in 1990. I got my very first computer game. I was 10 years old. The game was Buck Rogers in the 21st Century, Countdown to Doomsday. It was a TSR, SSI conversion of a pen and paper role playing game by the same name. Sort of the same vein as Curse of the Asia Bonds or the other D&D games that they had out at the time, sort of turn based. The difference being it took place, ironically, in a very similar sort of universe, if not a little bit more pulpy than, say, The Expanse, where it is actually in the, as the name implies, 25th century, and a reimagining of the old Buck Rogers serials. And so, as an impressionable 10-year-old, you would fly through the solar system on your rocket ship, and you could use it to attack other ships and board them. And this is actually what got me started designing spaceships in the first place. I would sit down and write stats in school and design rocket ships. So for me, really, the vertical ships, which Buck Rogers has had, also, but coincidentally, they have Terrans, Martians, and Spacers, and I believe all of that role-playing game, by the way, predates The Expanse as it is. It's even the novels. This is what inspired me to start working on ships in the first place, and this was the sort of first time where it felt more appropriate to do a vertical ship like that. It was both practical, and of course I am a big Expanse fan, obviously. This is a homage to the Expanse, and I've certainly applied the design language that's been used in media materials presented by that. I also play the Expanse role-playing game, so practically this is also a prop I use as a character in my game. So that's where it comes from, and a brief history. So for me, it kind of felt like full circle. I spent all of this time getting into animation and doing other things, gaming the whole time. But my career has taken me back to ship designs. And they are designed to have a certain degree of nostalgia and recognizability, and feel like they would fit in certain universes. But they're not copies. They are not carbon copies of things. Just to put that out there. Anyway, Zoroman, you had something?
Well, yes, the wonderful Mr. Hawks here, Seahawks, has basically said that he does Warhammer 4K more, but he's into Traveler RPG, and that's a link to something in the future that we talked about that may be
It
relevant
is.
to bring up.
Yeah, in fact, homages, I kind of agree. I spent 6 months on this model, getting it to where it's ready and printable and prototyped. Um, and obviously, nostalgia plays a big part in my designs, and I realize really I don't want to keep making ships that are just, homages to the sci-fi influences that have influenced me, especially 80s sci-fi and Japanese animation, for example. So the next project, we're very excited to work with Mark Miller in the Traveller universe. The next ship will actually be a pre-existing design, and that will be the Beowulf free trader. So that is a very exciting project in the future. But that's one for the far-flung future. Because right now, I think we should actually focus on a project we've had going for a long time. Really, kind of in a way, 2 years back. So let's let's bring John into the conversation and start talking about the deck designer, because I know a lot of you have had questions about that. And I think we should get into it. So, John, do you want to unmute?
I've been here the whole time. I
You
used that
have.
same joke last 2 weeks. I don't have many jokes. Anyway, hi.
Hi, John. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I want to, if it's all right, I just want to mention before, as I'm launching and getting stuff ready to show.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Chops. The point of what happened 2 years ago with Chris Ekman. Did you want to share that, or would you like me to share that, or how would you like that
No,
done?
why don't you tell the story, and then I can tell my side of it afterwards.
Okay.
Or maybe you want to. Actually,
I'm on.
I can start with the story, and you know what? You load up and share deck designer, so we can get that going in the background.
Sure thing.
So, approximately 2 years ago, one of my first backers, Chris, I don't think we should mention his full name without his permission, but he came to me with an idea for essentially what has become deck designer. In fact, he approached John to make a prototype. I was really interested in it, but just had a lot of work, so we sort of like put it on the side. He was thinking about launching it himself, but didn't have the time himself. So yeah, I've had the frustration over the years of trying to build all of the oh, nice touch. Sorry, I'm gonna share this right now so you guys can see it. Let's see there.
That was a lot he thought was better, and that version I sadly accidentally, totally not my fault, lost all the source code too. So
I'm sorry, guys, I didn't turn the microphones on for this one.
oh, they haven't heard any of the story. Oh,
No, I think. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is. Wait, is that working? No. Yes, we can hear you. I think now. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys can hear us now, right?
You can hear me,
Yes,
Chops?
yes, we've got a yes in the chat. Awesome.
Okay. Long story short, 2 years ago, I lost source code after I made it. Chris went to several people to try to get it. They all said no. And all the other tools kind of then vanished because everyone was saying, oh, we have our own program we're going to do. And they kind of just like disappeared. So now we're back. And what were you saying, Ben?
I don't remember. I got distracted by all of the kerfuffle we just created. Yeah, okay, so basically, deck designer I thought was a great idea as a way to sort of manage things. I'm feeling like maybe I should put my picture in the other corner. we can see what you're scrolling there. Essentially, my needs were this. I have worked before with some of the other options that are out there, but Chris's particular idea was to make it easy to print with print lists and parts in that sense, and my angle was, yeah, print lists are good, but the real frustration with having all of these modular ships is that it makes it really hard to make instructions. I've had to press poor Lisa Lot into rendering out image for image and trying to figure out how I've built the ships. So it's been somewhat of a bottleneck. One of those things that keeps us from making instructions because they take so long. So we've only been doing the base ships. So what I saw as a potential with this is that you could actually use it to have a 3D map of the ship and how things are laid out, but also have the option for someone to load in the plans and actually, be able to modify it. Because I built the Chimera, for example, with that modularity in mind, and so yeah, how long have we been doing this? About a little over 6 months as well, just casually on the side.
Yeah, it's just as playing with it. I've, tiny little things and all that fun stuff.
Indeed. Liselott, är det möjligt att skaffa lite vatten?
How does this fit? Oh, it goes in like this. Okay. All right. I had no idea how that goes, but you didn't slide it. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, you're seeing. Well, this is actually good because you guys are actually seeing some interesting parts of the ship that I've laid out. We don't currently have a prototype working where we've got the whole ship assembled yet, but we will have it before the end of the campaign. In fact, we'll have a demo, right, John?
Yes.
He said
By
yes.
the end, by the campaign ends, you will have demo, and you can load in, and you can look at the left group in there, and then all that fun stuff. There's something I was going to mention. I think I was supposed to talk about the goals that have been reached. Is that correct for the Kickstarter or no?
Yeah. We'll go. We can go through those ones to see exactly what it's going to bring. So let's talk about the base version that we've got working first, and then we'll talk about how we're going to expand that with the stretch goals that have been unlocked.
So the base version will save, load, give you a print list of your files, and let you load in different bundles that have been made by Second Dynasty. And then that's pretty much the main point of it. That was the version as presented, with also allowing you to import your own STL, so you're not locked to Second Dynasty with this tool.
Yeah. So that off the get go. If you have got Dragon's Rest pieces, if you've got Rocket Pig, if you've got OpenLog stuff, all of that should be able to import. Oh, tack så mycket.
Det är vanligt.
Ja, ingen fara. Vilken service. Lisa just bought me some water. So she's going. Sorry, not she.
Now, woman, hear me roar.
Yeah, I got distracted. It's really nice to see this in action with more or less the whole ship. You can see there's quite a few pieces there on the left, exterior and interior, and John's just having to play with it. Our biggest challenges really is figuring out where the pivot points are on objects and having the clips line up. So
there's actually a neat part, if I may say, that it actually does a lot of auto figuring out, and that was something that a lot of time was spent on, that it can look at a part and figure it out partially, to keep them on grid.
Yeah. So most parts are going to already fit from the beginning. It's just that some of them are going to take a little bit more. Well, this one, for example, slots up underneath a level that's half a tile above. But John's demonstrated today, and you might notice these shapes look just a little bit more rough than the ones that I've shown in the renders, right? Chris on the stream has said that I like that it isn't locked to one manufacturer. For me, Chris, one of the reasons it's not web based is because I think I play a lot of Roll20, and it frustrates me to no end that I'm reliant on their servers when I'm trying to game, and sometimes they'll have too much stuff. I'd rather have something that's local to my machine. And then the other thing too is when you're doing something web based, you can't draw. Everything has to be basically transmitted from a server and that sort of thing. I'd rather have a package that you download that is safe, that you can't actually print my stuff, so it's protected from piracy, which is why you see it's a little bit lower resolution here. For we'll probably have a version for creators if they want to take the step of converting their objects to this sort of database of non-replicatable things. So, for example, if Dragon's Rest or Rocket Pig or someone wanted to put their models in here, it will go through a sort of like a process to lower the resolution of the pieces that would also destroy them partially so that they can't just be imported into a slicer and work. And at the very least, you're going to get much poorer quality pieces, and it would actually be more of an investment in time to fix the broken models than it would be to actually buy the pieces for a few bucks each.
The models are turned into non-manifold. They no longer make sense in real geometry.
So they may still be able to be fixed with a mesh lab or something like that, but you're still not going to get the quality. It'll essentially look like a cheap Chinese knockoff version if you do manage to get it printable.
Right, because there is data loss. There's irreparable damage. Irreparable damage to all our cores. Every single one.
Yeah, and sorry, did you have something to add there, Zorima?
Yes. The laymen are going to say, what is non-manifold?
Yeah. So, in 3D terms, a manifold object is something that's air or watertight. So that would mean that all of the polygons, all of the vertexes line up together so that essentially it's kind of like a digital balloon. When there's a hole in that balloon, so that the air goes out of it, so that it can't be a whole solid piece, they call it non-manifold. It's also referred to in some slices as a complex object if it's manifold. Which I think is just even more complex. But yeah, that's basically the essence of it. It's a full balloon of air or water versus one that's deflated. And only, the balloon's only going to look good with its geometry on your printer if it's, the full shape that you expect from a balloon.
Okay, one more. Spellborn is asking about the deck designer, whether it gets a count of the parts, which I think the answer is yes, but he wants to know whether if you need four floors, for an example, and 6 wall tiles and 2 doors, that when you pull up the ship, it will tell you all those details.
And the answer to that is yes. That's the intention. That it will give you a parts list. John can speak more to that. Or are we getting into stretch goal territory?
We're not in stretch goal territory in that regard. The very first prototype had a print list, and originally it gave you like a notepad, just like a text document of each model, its name, where to get it if you don't have it, and how many of each one. I believe that it won't. Can I still be heard?
Yes.
I had a network error. Okay. The problem is it will not give you connectors anymore. I think the original prototype, I had like a way of placing where connectors should generally be, and it will like figure it out. But that was removed because it's a lot of extra time spent on every piece saying you can connect here with this type of connector, here with this type, etc. But that might be something if we make like 2 million crowns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Question is that all he wants for Christmas, pretty much, is for it to do the ship design and print out the parts directly itself. But if I understand things correctly, it is not print. It's not a slicer. It is a designer.
Yeah.
Correct?
Well, it's got the parts list there. So that's essentially what we were talking about there. That you'll get a list, maybe even better than a list, depending on how far we get. John's been talking about the ability to actually download or rather copy over the files to a folder so that you can open it up and you know exactly what you're going to do.
So can I mention that
Yeah.
at this time, the Kickstarter goals?
Yeah,
Or is this
sure. Let's get
okay?
into
'Cause
these.
I think we're running out of my time for my segment. I'm like, got to hurry.
We don't really have a ceiling on that segment. We can go over with that because we're only
okay.
at a half. Yeah, we've got
Can
25
we
more
go?
minutes.
Can we go back to your beautiful office? Because I want to talk about the Kickstarter now.
Sure, we can go back to that. Or my what? Just me? No, let's not go there. Let's look at the Kickstarter page because we've actually got the stretch goals on there.
Yeah. Okay. I'll be quick. We got Mac and Linux support. That does not mean me just checking in the thing to build for Mac and Linux, but actually giving the time to. We're taking tickets for that. Be able to actually make calls to the right different libraries, like the file browsing library calls to the right, would be the Mac style or the Linux style. I think on Linux, when it just calls whatever file browser you have set as your default, because you can have a different file browser in Linux. The colored meshes have unlocked, and that will be more like if you hired like if you just printed in a different color, it would just be one solid color, and that's something I think is gonna be really fun. And that's been unlocked. We've unlocked the materials. Now, I'm
This one
really
I'm
nervous
excited
about the
about.
materials one.
Yeah.
So the materials will not be in the release at the end of the Kickstarter because it's something that whether we have to actually go back and look at the bundles that have been made and then get the Maya files into it proper. There is a little bit of
Yeah,
setup time.
this is going to require a lot more work from my side of things. So I'll have to be because right now, basically what everyone's got access to is the STL files. I don't know if you guys know too much about STL files, but as a format, they've been around a very long time. I believe since the late 70s to early 80s. They are a very, very primitive form of 3D file. So they don't actually have that much information in them. And with more developed files such as OBJ files, still a very old format, or FBX, which is currently used to sort of like be cross-platform between different 3D programs. You have a lot more information included, such as animation, bones, and what we call UV maps, and also materials. So the UV maps are sort of like a way to say where the colors are going to go on the model. And the shaders, there is a way to do it quite simpler where we can take basic colors and turn them into shaders instead. And there's a kind of shader which I'm very excited about. That's what I usually use, called a procedural shader. It just looks at the angles of the item and decides where it's going to put the highlights and where it's going to put the shadows and all of that sort of thing. So that's what you see in most of my renders. And basically we're porting these over to Unity so that you should be able to, at the very least, get something looking similar to what we've got on the screen at the moment. But as John said, we're releasing a basic version, and then we're going to continue to develop it over time, implementing the stretch goals. So the stretch goals, just the same as with the ship, you're not going to get it all, 2 weeks after the campaign ends.
Mm. Yeah, thank you so
big
much.
Question there.
Yeah.
Let's see. Track already printed. Example, I have a Chimera and I decided to build one with extra engines. After I do the design, can I have it give me a list of the extra parts? So if you do it like a main ship design and then you do all your part lists and then you go in and decide to do one of the mod ships, uh, can you get the software to give you a list of only what is needed for that extra mod?
While technically possible, that's not been a feature that's been discussed this time. There will be, however, a CSV export out feature this time instead of a TXT export, which you can then pop into whatever favorite worksheet program you have and use that to detect duplicates.
Question: what does that mean?
A CSV is like an Excel file, but it's more generic and open source. Any workbook Excel numbers can open it and play with it.
I should probably, that's a good point you brought up there, Chris. I think, you know, I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to see the difference in parts from the base version and the like a variant or your version of things. So you just get the modified parts list. I think maybe ultimately we could look into some kind of feature where you could essentially select certain parts and just get the print list for them. That's essentially what you're looking for, right? So like so that you save them in their own layer or something like that. Um, would probably be the easiest way to do. That sounds like something that we could potentially enter into stretch goal territory at some point to add as a sort of feature. Um,
It could even be where you can take. I'm sorry, Ben.
I was about to actually say, or what do you think, John? So,
Oh, it could even be where you can import. You could say compare this save file versus this save file. What parts are different, and it would spit out the differences to where you don't even have to layer them. If you had a full build this one and compare this file, say what do I need to get from this to there, it can then automatically just check each one and see and get back our list.
assuming you're talking about, because what it sounds like, Chris, is that you already have a finished ship and you want to do a different modification to that, and you don't want to reprint the whole ship. So, in that circumstance, that would be the best way to do it.
Not complicated.
It will be a little annoying. May I discuss that next? My favorite feature that got unlocked though?
Yeah.
Tutorial mode.
My favorite too.
The whole point of this software was to make it easier. Where you have tutorial where it will actually, when a ship is finished being built, don't worry, Ben, you don't have to put it in the correct order. And then in tutorial builder, you'll be able to specify, I want them to see just these parts initially. And then the next step, show these parts. And there actually is going to be, I think there's one more Kickstarter goal that we considered. I don't know, and none of these are set in stone about making it more advanced, perhaps even having like animations or stuff. But I don't think that's not part of this goal. This goal is just going to have the different parts and let them see step by step how it's supposed to be put together, and they can step through and look at it in 3D. And it will even record the camera. You can specify, move the camera to this position. So if there's a weird part, like you build this deck part and then you attach the bottom rocket, you can make it to where the camera will swing to the bottom and then show the part coming in.
I'm excited about this because this is the whole idea of making the instructions in 3D. And I don't know how many emails I've got from backers or customers in the past where it's like, oh, I can't see this from this angle in this render. It's too small, or it's, oh, what piece is this? And um, aside from the idea being that it's completely customizable, so you don't have to build it as I've built it. This will be the ultimate for making things easier for you guys to actually see what's going on. And I mean, you'll still be able to interact with the pieces and move them out of the way and check, but this is kind of like you'll be able to go step by step. Very excited about that one. I think we had one more thing in here, which is the lighting, which has been unlocked so far.
Yeah, it's not been unlocked yet, has it?
Oh wait, no, that's the next one. That's what we're working on now. We're 30K away from that.
Okay, so Matt, do you want me to mention it, or you want to wait until the
You
next
go for it,
one?
and I'll add some spice on top of it.
So the lighting upgrade is intended for if you, let's say you have a temporary D&D campaign with the people and you don't want to actually print out your whole dungeon, etc., but you also want to make it fun and exciting to look at. That's what we're approaching in this area. Instead of being just a planned, just shadow, like some invisible sun somewhere, you can have like torches that will have a little of the flicker of the lights and flames, and then also like standard lights, like if the lighting kit will have options where some parts will have built-in lights you can turn on and off, or you can manually specify where you want lights. Okay, now you add your flavor, Ben.
That was a lot more than I thought we were getting. I thought we were just going to add some scene lights to it and some environmental lighting. Basically, On top of that, essentially, this is going to take. Look, we're not promising state of the art graphics in
No.
that sense, but this will take something that's kind of like relatively a splash of color that's going to do something. But I always say in animation that lighting is far more important than texturing. You can make anything look good, even basic geometry, if you've got really good lighting. So environmental lighting, that'll basically take a giant sphere of a sort of photo of different light sources. That's what I use for my rendering. We're basically doing something similar to what I'm doing in Maya, but in real time. Unity, the program that John's using to make this, is a game engine. So this will give it slightly more games-like graphics, you might say. And then, you could add in fun features like the lights and things like that.
Because it does say placeable lights.
Yeah.
All right.
It does, but it doesn't specify who's doing the placing.
I like your thinking.
Yeah. So obviously there's two sides to this. It might be worth mentioning that there is a consumer version of the software, and then there's obviously the version that we use to create our stuff. We probably will be able to make that commercially available to other producers if they want to convert things, but I think it's probably a good idea to work out what kind of learning curve it has so that we can support that properly.
I think that's all that I have to share for today. I think.
Awesome, John. Awesome. That's exactly what I wanted to get out of this session. So we do have a few extra questions that we can go over that are not related to the deck designer. So John, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm gonna go explode now. Bye.
I think what you mean is actually you're going to put yourself on mute and get back into the chat to make some more cheeky comments. So we have some more questions, right, Zorima?
Yes, I don't understand Ox's question about the fighter pack. Can you elaborate on that and what you're trying to ask? Because you're saying, will it have a new?
Right.
Will it have a new?
Yeah, I think I know what that could be about. Because we do have in the campaign exclusive stuff. I don't have it ready to show yet, but we do have the mysterious Starfighter modular system 2 as an add-on. So this is an expansion to our existing Starfighter pack. So what you're asking is, will it have new parts or just what is already out for new backers? No, this is a second one. So remember, anyone who was with us in the last campaign, there were a couple of different cockpit styles that I didn't get to. Especially the sort of like bulbous one that could be used on like a Star Fury like craft or a TIE fighter type craft, sort of like a hexagonal, not hexagonal, octagonal or rounded cockpit, and a couple of different parts that I just didn't feel we could get to where we wanted to go. The other thing I'm thinking about, and I know some of you will be very happy to hear, is there has been talk about smaller craft than the shuttle with just, very small internal space. So maybe we might also see a movement from just single cockpit fighters to something that has either a second cockpit, a co-pilot, or perhaps even something as large, quote unquote, as a runabout, maybe. Something very small, like with a 2x3 inch sort of base on the inside or something like that. I'm not promising anything yet. Yeah, I think, let's see, the lighting kits are truly plug and play, right? Alright, that's just John being cheeky.
I can answer that one though.
Yeah, they are.
That is, yes, they are. They're not even, actually they're not plug and play. There's no plugging at all. So all you have to do is take the wires and put them in and put them to the end of where you need to be and through the channels that have already been established, and put your battery in and throw it in the hidden hole that was made by Ben, and ta-da, lights. Oh yeah, and there is of course an on-off switch that bounced into a wall or a bracket or something that Ben magically made I don't know how he did that, but anyway, so you
I
can
don't
just
know
turn.
how I did it either.
Maybe you haven't done it yet. I don't know. But it will be very simple to use, and any lighting kit we include will remain that way because that's kind of the goal. Unless people want really complicated lighting kits with like Arduino setups and flashy lights and a bunch of stuff like that, which would take actual like work from the user to do some certain stuff and flip coding and do some odds and ends. So I don't think we're there yet.
No, it's a place that we might like to go in the future. So I would imagine looking forward, providing that. Well, I mean, I kind of feel right now that to keep things on the level with future ships, I still need to have lighting for me so that I can make it look really awesome. And I don't see any reason why, even if there's not a huge volume, um, that we couldn't still accommodate that in the future. We'll have to see how it goes, and sort of like evaluate if it works for everyone, um, or especially if it works for you, Zorma. um, but
There is key cost and all this, so for that stuff. So
yeah, so there is a future in this. It looks at the moment. So we'll see how popular that actually ends up being. Get some kind of idea, and but I mean, similar lights to what we've already got. I can imagine repurposing these setups again in future ships to make it almost more compatible with each other, that sort of thing. And like Zorma has mentioned, we like the idea of revisiting older ships and seeing what can be done there. And in fact, Zorma, you have a side project, right, with the shuttle?
yes, I'm currently working on a side project for the Alpha to kit it up with some engine lighting and cockpit lights to give it a nice look. We're working on that, and I've got the initial designs done, but I just ordered the parts for the lights to install and do some testing to get the right shading.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite an exciting development. If nothing else, it looks really cool on the tabletop. Um, and as I was mentioning earlier, we have these these campaign exclusive add-ons. I think we'll just go over these, and then we might call it a day for now. Um, although there's one last thing I think we should bring up before I leave.
Should bring up how they actually do these orders for these extra items too, because I think that's not clear.
Yeah. So for many pledges, if you read the different add-ons and things, I've tried to explain it in the text a little bit, but I understand it's a wall of text and images. If you want an add-on and you've just pledged for the ships or one single item, you just increase your pledge by the amount in SEK or Swedish crowns, which is the case. I've got the approximate value in United States dollars. Things get a little bit more complicated when it gets to the pledge manager because that will be in dollars. But I'll just convert the SEK value to dollars in the pledge manager, and no one's going to lose money because of that. Actually, the opposite. You guys will end up with probably a couple of bucks extra. But we usually use the most favorable exchange rate during the campaign. So the add-ons here, you can increase your pledge on Kickstarter, or you can wait and do it on the pledge manager if you just want one pack or another. I've got a new render for this one that I'm going to get out in a few hours hopefully, and that is going to it's not 14 miniatures as I think I originally counted. It's actually 20, so there are even more variants in the spacesuit set. This one is coming from the Cult of Pickle. I'll get a special page up about Pickle because Pickle has a Patreon, but he doesn't have a ton of people at the moment, so we need to. Well, we don't need to, but I think he's a great candidate for supporting. Then the next one we have is the Chimera Pegasus. So this is a civilian variant of the ship. Recycles most parts. I don't have it up yet, but we're going to have an upgrade version that's at least half the price for people that already have the Chimera. But this is included with the all-in pledge. Basically, only the lighting kits aren't included with the all-in pledge as far as the campaign exclusive purple add-ons go. The Starfighter modular system we just mentioned. And then we have the last two here. The rover, I think, is something a lot of people are excited about. I like how it's come out, and we might do some more modular pieces for it as well. And then, of course, the collection by Papsicles of this sort of mechs, which should really complement your scenes. I think, in fact, there might even be more mechs in the future. We'll see.
Probably do a nice light kit on that buggy.
Oh, yeah, it could. What, like put a coin cell underneath it and then do some headlights?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, that's something to consider.
Maybe.
All right. And then, of course, the light kits. Zorma is the light master. So, one last thing before we go. We are at a sort of crossroads of time zones here. I don't like doing the stream any later than what we have it on of a Friday normally. During campaigns, it's a different issue or a different circumstance because I obviously am fully dedicating my time to the campaign. But I'm wondering if perhaps there is a better time for everyone. If it were not on a Friday, perhaps it might be more manageable. But or at least I know Zorima is often up late and John is up early, and I know it's gonna be difficult for Australians, Chris. I know there's not really a great time. Either someone always has to get up early. But we'll
Anytime, boss. I'm here.
Yes. All right, guys. Let's wrap things up for today, I think. Is there any last business we need to do, though, first, Zorima? Perhaps the links again?
Yes. Of course, links on where to find things and do things. It would be nice to have again on the back end here, and wrap up questions from anybody that has last minute. And I believe that the last minute questions are what 11 o'clock at night? No, no kidding. There were some ships already designed in the deck designer. Someone's asking whether or not we're going to have pre-designed ships in the deck designer, and the answer to that is yes. But I believe that Ben, don't you intend to put the packages for all your ships in there technically?
Yes, I do, but it's not going to be like at launch. We'll definitely 100% have the Sleipnir, and probably also that Chimera variant. It all depends. We're still prototyping it. I'd love to get multiple ships done by that time, but it all just depends how fast everything's moving. So at the moment, feels like we're on top of things. I'll have updates soon so we can start discussing what those next ship modifications are going to be past the sort of external cargo stuff that I was hinting at. So hopefully this time I've built the campaign around it being a little bit more time manageable for myself, and I'm very grateful to have people like Zorima and John and Papsicles and Pickle that can really help carry the load. Anyway, we've got the links up for you in the chat. Don't forget either to check out the down the bottom of the Discord. You can get those discount codes for both Dragon's Rest and the Filament, 10% off the Filament.
Yeah, let me get those up.
Well, they're at the base of the. If they're looking on Twitch, it should be right underneath the stream. So, otherwise, check out the actual Kickstarter page. It's all down there, down the bottom. If by any chance you don't have a 3D printer, we do work with some licensed printers you can approach them for a quote. They're probably not going to know until after the campaign because of the time it takes to print. It's hard for us to estimate too. I have so many discarded parts during the prototype phase that I can't actually tell you exactly how much it weighs or how much plastic I've used or how much time it takes to print. But yeah, there are print services out there. That's also a thing. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a good weekend. You guys have made my weekend wonderful. Thanks again, Zorma, for joining me, and thank you, John, for showing us your progress there. We hope to have that demo up in inside of a week, was it, John? Yes, he says in French. So, yeah, inside of a week, we should have some kind of demo that you'll be able to download and test it out for yourself. So, look forward to that, guys. Thanks again. Have a great weekend. And bye, guys.